Assalamu alaikum, boys. Let's continue with the story that we had stopped midway. We were on page 20, if I remember correctly. Somewhere in the middle of page 20. We were seeing how a woman and her daughter are being confronted by a man who comes there and is trying to say something. I felt quite embarrassed by my mother's sharpness. Okay. The truth, no, I'll just read a little from the backwards from the previous part so that you get the continuity. The truth of the matter is, the little man was saying, I have got myself into a bit of trouble, into a bit of scrape. I need some help. Not much, I assure you. It's almost nothing, in fact, but I do need it. You see, ma'am, old people like me often become terribly forgetful. And this is how he starts. Then I felt quite embarrassed by my mother's sharpness. I wanted to say to her, oh, mummy, for heaven's sake, he is a very nice old man, and sweet and polite. And he is in some sort of trouble. So don't be so beastly to him. But I didn't say anything. The little man shifted his umbrella from one hand to another. I have never said it, I have never forgotten it before, he said. You have never forgotten what? My mother asked sternly. My wallet, he said. I must have left it in my other jacket. Isn't that the silliest thing to do? So now that she knows the reason for that man stopping them and talking, she asks, are you asking me to give you money? My mother said. Oh, good gracious me not, he cried. Heaven forbid I should ever do that. Then what are you asking? My mother said. Do hurry up. We are getting soaked to the skin. Soaked to the skin means become so wet that after wetting your clothes, the rainwater now seems to be touching your skin. I know you are. And that's why I'm offering you this umbrella of mine to protect you and to keep forever. If only. Now, these three dots are called as ellipses. They are normally used when you want to leave something unsaid, something that is already understood. If only what? My mother said. If only you would give me in return £1 for my taxi fare to get me home. My mother was still suspicious. If you had no money in the first place, she said, then how did you get here? I walked, he answered. Every day I go for a lovely walk and then I summon a taxi to get me home. I do it every day of the year. Why don't you walk home now? My mother asked. Oh, I wish I could, he said. I do wish I could, but I don't think I could manage it on these silly old legs of mine. I have gone too far already. My mother stood there, chewing her lower lip. She was beginning to melt a bit. I could see that. And the idea of getting an umbrella to shelter under must have tempted her a good deal. It's a lovely umbrella, the little man said. So I have noticed, my mother said. It's silk. I can see that. Then why don't you take it, ma'am? He said. It cost me over 20 pounds, I promise you. But now it is of no importance so long as I can get home and rest these old legs of mine. I saw my mother's hand feeling for the clasp of her purse. She saw me watching her. I was giving her one of my own frosty nosed looks this time, and she knew exactly what I was telling her. Now listen, mummy, I was telling her, you simply mustn't take advantage of a tired old man in this way. It's a rotten thing to do. My mother paused and looked back at me.
Ma'am,
Yes,
rotten means
rotten means a very bad thing. Rot is actually something that becomes what do you say? सड़ जाती है ना, that is called rotten. So that's not the right thing to do. The daughter tells her mother. Here it actually means very corrupted, very bad. My mother paused and looked back at me. Then she said to the little man, I don't think it's right that I should take an umbrella from you worth 20 pounds. I think I would better just give you the taxi fare and be done with it. No, no, no. It's out of question. I wouldn't dream of it. Not in a million years. I would never accept any money from you. I would never accept any money from you like that. Take the umbrella, dear lady, and keep the rain off your shoulders. My mother gave me a triumphant sideways look. There you are, she was telling me. You are wrong. He wants me to have it. She fished into her purse and took out a pound note. Fishing into your purse means trying to look for something in a purse. You must have normally seen this. Uh, your mother is doing it. She fished into her purse and took out a pound note. She held it out to the little man. He took it and handed her the umbrella. He pocketed the pound, raised his head, gave a quick bow from the waist, and said, Thank you, ma'am. This, then he was gone. So ultimately, the girl's mother decides to take the umbrella from the old man. So she takes out a pound note from her purse, gives it to the old man, and the man, taking the pound note, thanks them by bowing down before them. Come under here and keep dry, darling, my mother said. Aren't we lucky? I have never had a silk umbrella before. I couldn't afford it. Maybe it was very expensive, that's why. Why were you so horrid to him in the beginning? I asked. What? I wanted to satisfy myself he wasn't a trickster, she said. And I did. He was a gentleman. I'm very glad. I'm very pleased I was able to help him. Yes, mummy, I said. A real gentleman, she went on. Wealthy too. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had a silk umbrella. I shouldn't be surprised if he's a titled person, Sir Harry Goldsworthy or something like that. So now the mother and daughter are discussing the old man. And they were very happy, especially the mother was very happy to get a silk umbrella now. Yes, mummy, this will be a very good lesson for you. She went on. Never rush things. Always take your time when you are summing someone up. Then you will never make mistakes. Summing someone up means trying to form an opinion about someone, judging someone. So the girl's mother gives her a suggestion that always take your time before you judge a person. Don't be in a hurry. There he goes. I said, look, where? Over there. He's crossing the streets. Goodness, mummy, what a hurry he's in. So suddenly, they both see the man again. And this time, he was walking very fast. So the daughter points out, she says, look, mummy, how fast is he walking? He doesn't seem to be tired in any way. We watched the little man as he dodged nimbly in and out of the traffic. When he reached the other side of the street, he turned left, walking very fast. So they saw him. He was now walking very fast. He doesn't look very tired to me. Does he to you, mummy? My mother did not answer. He doesn't look as though he's trying to get a taxi, I said. My mother was standing very still and stiff, staring across the street at the little man. We could see him clearly. He was in a terrific he was in a terrific hurry. He was bustling along the pavement, sidestepping the other pedestrians and swinging his arms like a soldier on the march. That means the man was almost running, pushing everybody, you know, whoever came his way, he was moving ahead. He's up to something, my mother said, stony faced. Okay. So they saw that the man was now walking very fast. So suddenly the mother and daughter get suspicious. He's up to something. What is he up to? Sorry. He's up to something, my mother said, stony faced. But what? I don't know. My mother snapped. But I'm going to find out. Come with me. She took my arm and we crossed the street together. Then we turned left. Can you see him? My mother asked. Yes, there he is. The little man was about 20 yards ahead of us. He was scuttling along like a rabbit, and we had to walk very fast to keep up with him. Now, what is scuttling? Normally, run taking jumps, just like the rabbits run. The rain was pelting down harder than ever now, and I could see it was dripping from the brim of his hat onto his shoulders. But we were snug and dry under our lovely big silk umbrella. What is he up to? My mother said. If he turns round, what if he turns round and sees us? I asked. I don't care, my mother said. He lied to us. He said he was so tired to walk any further and he's practically running us off our feet. He's a barefaced liar. He's a crook. So now the mother is very angry and now she is bent upon finding the truth. You mean he's not a titled gentleman? I asked. Be quiet, she said. At the next crossing, the little man turned right again. Then he turned left and then right. So, very quickly they realized that he is up to something. And they also felt very strongly that he doesn't look to be tired at all. And much to their expectation, the man was walking very fast. He was going towards his home, carrying something. Okay, I'm not giving up now, my mother said. He has disappeared, I cried. Where's he gone? He went in that door, my mother said, and I saw him into that house. Great heavens, it's a pub. It was a pub in big letters. Right across the front, it said, The Red Lion. You're not going in, are you, mummy? No, she said, we will watch from outside. There was a big plate glass window along the front of the pub, and although it was a bit steamy inside, we could see through it very well if we went close. We stood
Not
huddled together.
pub means
Yes,
pub means
pub means a place where drinks are served. Just like we have restaurants and cafes serving coffee and tea. Na? Similarly, a pub is a place where drinks are served, beer and whiskey and wine and other things. Okay. So that's why the mother and the daughter they don't go inside the pub; they only watch from outside.
Ma'am,
What
it
is
is different from bar.
a bar? Is actually a small. It's more or less the same. A bar is normally a small counter where drinks are served. A pub is a bigger place where people come and sit and they sometimes even gamble and all sorts of such activities happen at pubs, music, dance, etc., etc. Okay, we stood huddled together outside the pub window. I was clutching my mother's arm. The big raindrops were making a loud noise on our umbrella. There he is, I said, over there. The room we were looking into was full of people and cigarette smoke, and our little man was in the middle of it all. He was now without his hat and coat, and he was edging his way through the crowd towards the bar. Yes, see, a pub is a big place, it's a big hall where, just say, imagine a restaurant. There are tables where you can sit, chit chat, discuss, and there is one counter. So, in the same way, in a pub, there is a bar towards one side. It's like a counter, let us say. He was edging his way through the crowd towards the bar. When he reached it, he placed both hands on the bar itself and spoke to the barman. Barman is the bartender. I saw his lips moving as he gave his order. The barman turned away from him for a few seconds and came back with a smallish tumbler filled to the brim with light brown liquid. The little man placed a pound note on the counter. That's my pound, my mother hissed. By golly, he's got a nerve. By golly is actually a way of expressing your surprise. What's in the glass? I asked. Whiskey, my mother said. Neat whiskey. The barman didn't give him any change from the pound. That must be a triple whiskey, my mother said. What's a triple? 3 times the normal measure, she answered. The little man picked up the glass and put it to his lips. He tilted it gently, then he tilted it higher and higher, and very soon all the whiskey had disappeared down his throat in one long pour. So he was just drinking like a madman. That's jolly expensive drink, I said. It's ridiculous, my mummy said. Fancy paying £1 for something to swallow in one go? It cost him more than £1, I said. It cost him £20 silk umbrella. So now the mother and daughter were both discussing. Mother was saying, "See, can anybody spend £1 just like that for buying a drink?" Then the daughter reminds her. She says, "Mama, not just £1. He had to sell his 20 £30 silk umbrella to and for one pound, and now he's using that pound to buy a drink." So it did, my mother said. He must be mad. The little man was standing by the bar with the empty glass in his hand. He was smiling now, and a sort of golden glow of pleasure was spreading over his round pink face. I saw his tongue come out to lick the white mustache, as though searching for one last drop of that precious whiskey. Slowly, he turned away from the bar and edged his way back through the crowd to where his hat and coat were hanging. That means he moved away from the counter, but he was still inside the pub. He comes into that, area, the waiting area where uh, coats and all the hats and umbrellas and all were hanging. He put on his hat, he put on his coat. Then, in a manner so superbly cool and casual that you hardly noticed anything at all, he lifted from the rack one of the many wet umbrellas hanging there, and off he went. "Did you see that?" My mother shrieked. "Did you see what he did?" "Shh," I whispered. "He's coming out." We lowered our umbrella to hide our faces, and out from under it, out he came. But he never looked in our direction. He opened his new umbrella. He opened his new umbrella over his head and scurried off down the road the way he had come. So he just comes out, unfurls the umbrella, and then quickly moves away. Scurried कहते हैं moving in a quick quick movements. So that's his little game, my mother said. Neat, I said. Super. We followed him back to the main street where we had first met him, and we watched him as he pronounced with no trouble at all. Sorry, we watched him as he proceeded with no trouble at all to exchange his new umbrella for another pound note. This time it was with a tall, thin fellow who didn't even have a coat or a hat. As soon as their transaction was completed, our little man our little man trotted off down the street and was lost in the crowd, but this time he went in the opposite direction. "You see how clever he is?" my mother said. He never goes to the same pub twice. "He could go on doing this all night," I said. "Yeah, but my mother said, my mother said, "Of course, but I'll bet he prays like mad for rainy days."
Ma'am, from where he got new umbrella, ma'am?
From the pub. See, in England, especially in London, because it rains very often, very frequently, it's normal routine for people to carry, I mean, to carry their umbrella whenever they go out for shopping, for everything. So even to pubs, they come with their umbrellas. And normally in every office, every public place, and even in homes, there, they have one outer, let us say, waiting area like thing where they have stands to hang their wet coats, the raincoats, wet umbrellas, etc., their shoes and all, so that they can come inside dry and neat. Otherwise, it would become so messy. Na? Every wet person coming in with their wet clothes, wet shoes, etc. So from there he picks up the umbrella. So
He's
everyone,
stealing.
yes, beta.
He's stealing the umbrellas.
I didn't get you, beta.
He is stealing the umbrellas.
He's so his game was he would go into a pub, very quietly pick up one umbrella, come out of it, then keep moving on the road. He would see somebody who's getting wet, doesn't have an umbrella, goes to them and makes this offer of selling off that silk umbrella in £1. Anybody would be tempted for that. And so he would sell that umbrella for £1. Take that pound note, go to another pub, have a drink, again repeat the same game. Pick up an umbrella from there, go and find someone on the street to buy that umbrella for £1. Take that pound note and now visit another pub. So the only thing he would be careful was he wouldn't visit the same pub 2 times, because then there would be a chance of him getting caught. So he wouldn't go to the same pub twice. So that was his game. But the mother says, but maybe, he prays for the rainy days like a madman, because his game would work only when there is heavy rain and people should feel the necessity to buy an umbrella. So, with that, we come to the end of this story. Did you all follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chalo. Good, very good. Inshallah, we will meet next week with something else.
Jazakallah khair.
Inshallah, ma'am. Jazakallah, ma'am.
Yeah.